Okay. Stuart, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the Robert Louis Stevenson Fellowship. When were you on that? When did you do that?
Yeah, I was on a Robert Louis Stevenson Fellowship in France in November 2016, and that was a really productive time for my poetry because it was a month to just really focus intensively on getting new work ready and to think about where it fitted in with what I'd done to date, and to really spend that time in a very nice place, away from all the things in Glasgow that would normally distract you from writing poems. So it was a very nice thing to be able to do.
Did you find you used the time? I mean, I find it hard, for example, if somebody sent me away somewhere and this, I felt it was tonight, I'd probably be out sightseeing. Well, that's part of the experience, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think in the case of it being November, perhaps that was quite useful because you were there when it wasn't necessarily so sunny.
Yeah.
So
like today.
Yeah, it was much like today in rainy Glasgow. This was quite a great grey days and grey, as it were.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I found that I would be getting up reasonably early every morning and being at the desk, and that doesn't always result in great poetry, but I am a believer in writing in throwing enough mud at a wall and hoping that something coalesces into a poem.
I agree with that. I think you have to generate the work, and I don't think you can sit back and wait for inspiration. You have to go fishing for it.
Yeah.
Are you good at sitting down at the desk and working like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm quite disciplined in my writing. I would probably add the caveat that though I'm quite good at putting the hours in, that doesn't always result in good poetry. And I sometimes think that, sometimes the ones that I like best and other people like best actually emerge very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas with other ones you have to spend hours and hours and it doesn't go anywhere.
I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but sometimes I find the ones that emerge quickly, they've actually been cooking for a while in your head. They've been forming in some way, or it's something that you've been thinking deeply about for a long time. So perhaps that's easier, whereas if you just sit down to write, you're actually trying to look for something, you're scratching about, trying to find ideas. So I think maybe that's why when it comes fully formed, you can write that very quickly. And before the Robert Louis Stevenson thing, what were you doing? How did that change things for you?
I think it gave me a period of time to really concentrate on thinking about how a lot of the poems that I'd been doing up to that point fitted into something a bit larger. I mean, I had quite a lot of material that I built up over quite a few years. I mean, in a sense, these things are really useful, and whether or not they change things to your writing perhaps takes a wee bit of time to emerge, until all the material appears in print, or you see a collection or a pamphlet that comes out of these things. Yeah,
and you're working on a collection just now?
I am, yeah.
How's that going?
Well, it's going fine, I think. It's definitely a challenge to go from writing one poem at a time and not necessarily thinking about how they fit into larger structures to thinking about how you put together a book, and how there are hopefully strands going through it. But I think it's going quite well. It's not quite ready yet, but it's getting there, I think. And
is there, you talk about strands going through it, is there a kind of body of work you're trying to tie together through themes?
Yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, it's not going to be a book where there's going to be one single unique selling point. It's not going to be one of those poetry books. It's more going to be a book that's certainly got some overarching threads going through it, just because of the things that I'm interested in as a person and a writer. So there are quite a lot of poems that I have about language, about place, about different strands of language, particularly within Scottish culture, and also poems about art, about the process of making. And I think these things fit together and hopefully add up to something that articulates something about what it's been to be, well, I suppose, me over the past few years.
What do you mean by the process of making?
I think, well, shaping things, not necessarily in language, into some kind of eloquent or persuasive utterance or image.
Right.
And that's something that, as a writer, I am quite interested in trying to get close to.
Do you mean form as well? Looking at certain forms, or
Form is a thing that I'm very interested in. Yeah, I think form's a big subject for me, not necessarily in a particularly prescriptive way. Though I am a poet who does think carefully about form. Whether that's in terms of using things like rhyme and meter, or thinking about other kinds of constraints which you can use to release things in your writing.
You have an interest in translation as well.
I do, yeah.
And so that, I guess, when you're translating, you're dealing with different forms. So other writers have chosen. You did the Sonnet Exchange recently, the poets from Russia. Tell me a bit about that. How did that go?
Yeah, that was a really great project to be involved in, and I'm really grateful to the Scottish Poetry Library, the Edwin Morgan Trust, and the British Council for making it happen and inviting me to be a part of it.
Do you speak Russian?
Niet.
So there's an issue there, isn't there, about when you're translating from a crib a translator's done. In a way, how does that work? How is that different from translating from a language that you do understand? I don't know. That's it's not a unique thing. I mean, a lot of poets have done translations from languages they don't speak. So.
Yeah, it's a very big thing at the moment, actually.
Do you translate from languages that you're familiar with?
Yeah, I've done stuff with languages that I know a bit of, like stuff that you might have done at school.
And
French.
How is that process different? Or you're relying on the translator that's done the crib kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, it is a slightly different process, and possibly the way that you're thinking about how meaning moves from one side of the page to another is slightly different, because if you have some kind of purchase, as you'll know with Gaelic on the original language, you experience the original poem in a slightly different way. I think
you also though had to communication with the poets, so it wasn't just using a
yeah. I mean, I definitely believe that crib translation is a legitimate and positive way of doing this thing. I mean, of course, because you can get, if it's a living poet, and you can't do this with dead languages, but if it's a living poet, you can, if they're with you, get them to read the poems. And
how was that interaction with the poets? How did you find that?
Really fun, actually. I mean, it was definitely challenging, because we had about 3 days in Moscow where we had to produce enough material that we could do a reading that night or a couple of nights later. So there's definitely a certain amount of pressure that kept noses to grindstones in that sense. But it was a very positive experience, and I think on both sides, and we all got quite a lot out of it, I think.
And so working in the collection, when do you think that's going to be ready?
Oh, I don't feel that I can comment on too much detail on that, Gregor, sadly.
Do you have an editor? Do you have somebody that edits your work, or that reads it closely for you? Or?
Yeah, I've got some friends who are very good and to read my poems sometimes.
Is that an important part of your creative process to have that?
Yeah, it is a very important part of my writing, or it's been very useful. Perhaps for you too. It's very great to be able to...
I find it quite necessary in a sense, because you can't always... Well, I'm not always a good judge of what's good, and I'm also hypercritical at times. Find some things I think are rubbish and other people tell me it's okay. So.
It can go the other way around as well, because you can have a poem that you think is great, and then you can be rudely awoken.
Well, that's why things like the poetry kind of group thing are good, because you get that, that shared. Everybody, it's democratic. I think everybody's allowed to chip in.
Yeah,
it's a good process. And what's coming up next? What have you got lined up? Any other events, or any more jaunts to Moscow?
No more jaunts to Moscow currently, although I'm very happy to go back anytime.
In this weather, it'd be nice to go somewhere a bit warmer.
Just to keep going one poem at a time, really, and to, at some point in the next year or two, put together a book and then think about projects, collections that would be interesting to write beyond that. To keep writing criticism as well, to maybe do a monograph rooted in my academic work at some point in the next few years.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Stewart.
Oh, thanks, Gregor.